All right, we've got Don Wilder on the podcast. It's been a while. We've been trying to do this for some time, yeah. But you've been in the U.S. now. You were in China before. It's a bit of time change. I wanted to talk to you about this fitness game that you built and about gamification in general in fitness. But maybe what we should do is we should go back to the beginning and maybe start with your China story, how you came to China, what you were doing here. Obviously, COVID happened and now you're no longer here, but still you were doing some big things here, right? So tell us where all that started.
Sure, dude. I mean, yeah, just for the record too, I'm not in the US. I'm over in Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Chiang Mai. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So Chiang Mai for me is kind of home base, but you're right. I spent about 8 months in the US at the end of October last year to April. So visiting family, taking care of some stuff. But to follow up on your question, man. Like, so I went to China. I moved to China in 2010. So I finished my undergrad degree and decided to go to China to teach. Like my first trip to Asia was when I was in university playing basketball at a school in Portland, Oregon. And we did a trip my junior year to Taipei, Taiwan. And it was like 2 weeks. It was a basketball, some exhibition games, and some coaching for underprivileged kids and stuff. And I just saw for the first time what Asia was like as a Westerner. And granted, like I'm from Idaho, so in the U.S., all 50 different states. I'm from the Northwest, this pretty big state as far as area, but population is super small. We're all white, we're all conservative. So like being able to see a different culture, experience a different language, different foods and all that, for me it was exhilarating, right? So I decided to go back to China. I felt like China was the place. It was an upcoming country, kind of the predominant superpower on the horizon. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to China, learn Chinese, teach some English, and then go back to my master's degree. So I moved to Guangzhou, right? And I got settled in 2010 and did a year teaching English. And I realized that, I really love China. Like it was a fun place. It was an adventure. I had learned Mandarin. I applied myself to learn the language. And I was calling back to friends in the States. And I'm like, all right, you guys already got your master's degree. You're kind of on the trajectory that I was heading. And these guys were working at Starbucks, so they didn't have jobs. And, like I was planning to be a professor at pretty much teaching like the philosophy of education, pedagogy. That was kind of the direction I was going. And I'm like, all right, that's a dead end for me. I just feel like no real potential there. So I just decided to stick it out in China. And there's a lot I guess I could unpack there, but from 2010 to 2011, I was just teaching English and networking and meeting a lot of people there in the city. And I ended up meeting a couple Chinese guys at the gym, or one in particular became a good friend of mine, and he owned a steel injection mold factory. And so a couple years later passed, 2013, and a friend of mine from the US, also an American expat, was launching a little wooden watch project on Kickstarter that raised a lot of money. And so after seeing this, of course, we're all hustlers trying to figure out our next big venture there in China. And I thought, man, I could do this as well. So I talked with my friend, Daniel at the time, this Chinese friend, and we partnered up. He brought in another partner that had an industrial design company. And I kind of oversaw the marketing and like product selection, and did quite a bit as far as like getting the products in a position to be manufactured. And so 2013, I launched my first Kickstarter project called Eastwood Slider Belts, right? And I wasn't expecting it to do much. We set a goal of 15,000, and basically in the first couple of days we hit our goal, right? Just organically on the platform, it just took off. So after 30 days, we cleared a campaign it was over like 120,000 USD. And I remember thinking like, oh shit, like, wow, all right, we got something here, So I'm like, I guess I'm turning my skills from early on, as trained in graphic design and stuff, And I'm thinking, all right, now I'm turning into marketing, and we're jumping into this whole product development stream. But yeah, about 2014 and 15, I had just a number of opportunities like pitched at me. As I know, you've been in China for a long time. You've done all sorts of different things that you probably would have never done back in Australia, right?
Yes, that's right.
So I just started playing pickup ball with some friends, and you know, I'm a collegiate athlete. I was a All-American in the U.S. at this small level of NCCAA, like nothing to get excited about, but you know, I'm a competitive athlete. So playing in China, the level of basketball is a lot lower than what it is stateside. So, you know, I rise to the top, start playing against some of the better players. And then I had these opportunities to play in paid games where I'd basically just show up and play in a game and get paid $500. So I'm thinking, like, from early on, even doing these little side hustles and stuff, I'm like, I play in a tournament, we play 4 games, I make $2,000, right? And I'm having a blast just playing ball. So that was awesome. I got to, through basically 2014 through roughly 2016, every month I was getting these paid games, and I was traveling all across China to play against mostly club level teams, but also some CBA teams. Played with a number of the NBA guys that came over to tour. So I had a chance to, like, you know, meet and play with Vince Carter and Jason Williams and Paul Pierce and some others. So it was really cool just to be able to meet some of these NBA players that I idolized as a kid, right? Mm-hmm. Actually meeting them face to face and being on the court with them and having a good time playing ball. But so anyway, that basketball thing, I realized I didn't really want to try to be a CBA player. I wasn't at that level, but I definitely still had the opportunity to continue to develop product. And I found, as a kind of this creative personality, to apply my skills that way in product development. So man, yeah, so I've launched a bunch of different types of products in different spaces, from, you know, with the belts, fashion accessories, but even into like some computer electronic accessories, and then games being a more recent one.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, I've launched a couple games. This game that you mentioned, FastFit, it's kind of a gamified HIIT workout process. Like, that was just something that I thought up last year when I was in Phuket. I was stuck in Phuket, Thailand, for lockdown, like really the first phase of the lockdown. And I was bored off my ass because it's like, you know, they closed off the beaches. I couldn't even get down there. It's like, there's nothing to do. You're just trapped in a little hotel room. Don't have fitness equipment or anything. So I'm like, I gotta get creative. And like, I'm thinking, as far as the future of, like, as a product developer, what are some fun type of fitness products that I could develop? And this game, I already had experience from doing a different game the previous year, fairly straightforward on manufacturing, and I was just thinking, all right, as far as game mechanics, what would be fun, what would be unique? So like, I thought back to my years in university, and in Portland, Oregon, I met this other student that was in my dormitory. He was South African, and he was built like a rock. I mean, the kid was just all muscle, right? And all of us would kind of be curious of how he would do his workouts. And he was just super intense, right? And I remember, like, all right, I'm gonna learn from this guy. So even though I was a basketball player, pretty lean, not really lifting much weights or anything, I followed him on a few of his workouts. And it was simple, like some of the workouts. It was very like high intensity, you know, quick paced. But he brought a deck of cards, right? And he's like, all right, so here's the game. We're going to go through this full deck of cards. Like, I'm going to flip it. And if it's an ace, it means it's a ×2, right? And if it's a king face card, it's going to equal this, and then everything else. So every set, we would say what we're going to do before we flip the cards. You know, for this set, we're going to do push-ups. You flip it, right? And I think we'd flip like 2 cards. But dude, I mean, I remember I was able to hang with him for like the first 15 minutes, right? That was maybe like through a quarter of the deck. And I passed out. I'm like, I can't continue. And the other friends, you know, it'd kind of be like this little tribe that would follow and work out with this kid. And maybe 3 or 4, sometimes 5 of us. And none of us could keep up. So we just drop out, like, you know, one after the other. And he would go through the whole deck. And I'm just being like, oh, it's fun. You know, it's like a different way to work out.
The entire deck, the whole deck of cards. He did the whole thing. That was his, like, he would
The
never go
whole
half.
thing.
It was always the full. Okay.
Dude,
Wow. All
the
right.
dude was an animal. I'm telling you, man. I don't know. His body fat was probably like 3% or something. It was ridiculous.
Jesus, what?
Kerkula. Yeah, I'll never forget, man. But anyway, that I think that had kind of been embedded in my mind, and as I'm thinking of games being a possible cool product and fitness, that kind of matched. So I jump online, I do research, and I see what type of fitness games are already in the market, like analog games, right? There's a few different ones on Amazon, but what I notice is they're kind of cheeky, to be honest. Like, it's just a little illustration of a dude, doing like a jumping jack, right? And then at the bottom it says jumping jacks, but there's really no routine around or anything. I'm like, okay, that's weak sauce. I'm gonna do something better. And then the idea came of like separating the decks. So you've got one deck for your exercises, right? So like all your common, full body hit exercises. And then in the other deck, mixing it up with kind of the sets, or sorry, the repetitions, and a mix of wild cards. So you never know, like you flip the first card, it might be like burpees, right? You flip the second card and it might be × 2 or ×3. And so when you pull one of the wild cards, you still pull again from this target deck. So if it's ×2, you flip the next deck, it says times or 10 repetitions. So you're gonna have to do 20 burpees off of that set. And then I would, yeah, if you look at the cards too, you probably add a link or whatever, like it's gamified, because depending on the difficulty of the exercise, burpees would be a +3 compared to like jumping jacks, which are relatively easy, would be a +1. So every set you can kind of like actually have a point system that follows that none of the other games are doing. But that, yeah, that's it in a gist, man. Like, it was a fun project to put together.
Yeah, I was thinking, because when you're creating a game, and you did launch, I think it was a board game before you launched this fitness game, right? You had a board game.
Right.
And so, I mean, as a product developer, were you looking at basically the world and seeing like, okay, the world, everyone needs motivation to do things, and gamifying your life is kind of like the tool. This is the key to getting anything done. Is that something you saw? And so you sort of switched and said, okay, anything I create, any product I make is going to be, is going to have this gaming element to it. Is that sort of how your thought process with it, right?
I think it was kind of a natural fit, to be honest. I mean, in one take, I do believe that the future is following gamification. Like, it's somewhat inevitable. It's going to happen. It's just how, based off our human psychology and how we make sense of our environments, games are not just fun, but they're an actual really powerful mechanism for improving output, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago watching a TED talk that I thought was pretty powerful. It was I forget the girl's name, but she was like I don't know if she was semi-pro snowboarder, or she was a very advanced like athlete, right? And she broke her back and became paralyzed. And then shortly after that, she had this mad depression that came from not being able to be mobile, right? And so she was suicidal at one point, and then she came across something around gamification. And she applied this idea of gamification, of looking at her life and her circumstances as a game. So trying to pass through different levels and having, good actions, which would be, plus value, and negative things. So anyway, she kind of got creative with her situation, gamified her life around this little, mental construct. And over the months turning into the years, like, she went through her physical therapy, gained mobility, and became a, really thriving, successful young woman through the principles. And then she, wrapped it into a TED talk. And that kind of struck me too, because it's like, that's like a real drastic case of how powerful gamification can be. But on a daily level, we see it happen, from education through like educational games into like corporate level, of how they're, rewarding certain actions in the environment. I mean, being a product developer, I remember being in like the CES show in Vegas every year. I go there, I just loved it, kind of seeing what all the startup tech was looking like. And I remember coming across a toothbrush, dude. Like, a company had developed a toothbrush for kids that connected with an app. So it had like this AR app. So when the kids would brush their teeth, they could be watching the app and they would see these little monsters on each of the teeth in different, succession, right? So you'd brush the monster off here and then you move down to the other side and brush it off. And then they'd get points and there'd be kind of like a follow-up. And I'm like, dude, that is so creative, right?
That's very smart. Yes.
As we look at the future of where gamification could go, especially when it's really compounded or augmented by AR or VR, right? Like moving into our physical space. I'm like, this is awesome. It's going to happen. So, I mean, I think there's tons of case studies. Recently, my aunt bought a Lululemon mirror, right?
Okay.
I know you've got experience with these smart mirrors in fitness.
That's right. The mirror,
so I helped her
right?
set it up.
Yeah, the mirror, Lululemon bought them, right? Yeah. How does she like that? Is that something it's like, is she enjoying it?
she's my aunt. She's done really well. She's in a very wealthy community in San Antonio, Texas, and for her, she has like her own home fitness setup, and the mirror was just a nice little accessory to throw in there. And the price tag at $1,500 wasn't much of an issue. And what is it, $40 ongoing monthly subscription? But I was able to try it out. She had the Peloton bike as well, and I could see that she really just enjoyed group activities. That she could see the teacher. She could get some feedback. And be a part of kind of this process of like online interaction, and I'm just amazed at how well the Peloton bike seems. Like a lot of my friends stateside, they're all picking these up, right? Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I don't know if you've come across even like the sales figures on Peloton, but they've just blown up, man. I mean, it's like,
yeah, that's right.
2017 was like 250 million in the annual sales, and now it's over $1 billion, and projected, I think this year, like over 4 billion on these Peloton bikes, right? So there's something very powerful about like group fitness, but having it in an online format that's fun and it's kind of gamified, where you're getting real feedback. But I don't know. I mean, it can go across all sorts of stuff. You may have heard of that app called was it Fitocracy? I believe, and it's basic. Yeah, it's called Fitocracy, like democracy, but Fitocracy. This was a while back. I remember seeing it. I was really fascinated because it's basically it gamifies the goal setting around going to the gym, right? So you join this community, you set your goals up front, and then you pay into a communal pot. Like you put money into the pot. And then you do this honor system self-reporting. So if you don't get to the gym the day that you say you're going to go to the gym, you pay a fine that goes in the pot, and it gets shared with the members that do, right? They actually follow up on their goals. So it's like a self-accountability system. But it helps. I mean, it's more like a habit formation device. But for fitness, it supports it. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was pretty creative.
And very simple too, right? It's not like, some complicated thing. It's just playing with the psychology of motivation, right? Pain and pleasure. That's pretty much what it is, right? Seems so simple, right? Totally. Such a powerful tool.
Yeah, I mean, loss aversion is super. Like when people will do things when they realize that if they're gonna lose money at it, they're like, all right, I'm gonna do this. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of kind of resurgence of habit building, habit formation, like how to build, powerful habits. The whole self-development industry, it seems to just hinge on that topic mainly. I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of a simple, powerful thing that when you get it right, man, you can see some real crazy effects from it.
Yes.
But anyway, I mean, to back up off of your question though, I do feel like gamification is the way things are going, but I've always been the type of person that was creating games just to have fun, right? I mean, you have a bunch of brothers, as I recall, right? Like you guys are always
That's it's
competing with
yeah.
each other, like figuring out you're sitting at a dinner table eating dinner, but you're going to figure out a way to make it into like a competition, which is naturally pretty much a game of some sort, right? There's got to be rules. There's got to be
Yes.
a winner, there's got to be a loser. I used to do the same with my older brother, and and just always was creative about it. I mean, we had a couple of trampolines in the backyard, and I remember I created this game called Dingo Ball. I don't know why. I think we thought the name was funny, right? So you have one of those blue rubber racket balls, and you're on the
Uh-huh.
trampoline. The trampoline's pushed right up next to the house, where you could like jump up and grab the gutter, right? So the game was basically you throw the ball up on the roof, and then the first one to grab the ball and slam it into the gutter, like a hoop, was the winner. So we'd like, it's all strategy of how you like plan your bounce on the trampoline and like steal the bounce from the other person and then slam it into the gutter. Dude, it was a great game. I mean, I'm sure it could have been put into a real sport, but what my mom
Yeah.
definitely put the cut on that, man. She came out one day, she saw us like slamming on the gutter, and the gutter just literally bent down. Uh, yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't make it too far with that one in a couple of weeks, but I just remember stuff like that was always fun, like
Nice.
uh, middle school. No, it's probably like late grade school, 5th grade, going to
Mhm.
the principal's office, and I would never get in trouble in school, which but uh, I ended up bringing some of my buddies in. We'd roll dice, and we would put our sports cards in. We're like, all right, I bet it's going to be a 3 or whatever. It's always going to be like, I don't remember seeing anything, but I just remember thinking, all right, if we're going to roll the dice, we might as well have some fun and wager in it, right? So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
teacher saw that. She's like, no, this is not going to work. You're out. He's like, go talk to the principal. I'm like, I thought it was a creative game, man. I mean, this is great.
Yeah, so gaming so much. I mean, everybody has that, right? And as a young boy, right, in your childhood, you always like you grow up with games, right? But I like it's funny because you've been I think you're very very good at this, at creating something that people want to play. And like with this fitness game, and going back to that, I was researching a little bit on what makes a good game, and I think the points where it's gameplay, like the process of actually playing it has to be fun. There needs to be, I think it's called a quest or like an adventure. So in your case, the fitness game is like people's quest is to get healthy, right? Or to get fit, or to, to finish the workout, like that's kind of they're doing it for the reason to, maybe to look good or to feel good, right? And then there has
Totally.
to be, I think the two key things is there has to be some kind of chance, like a random element, a chance. Like, I mean, that's why people gamble, right? They roll the dice
Mm-hmm.
because there's
Yep.
this, depending on what the gods have blessed them in that, it's like this chance element. And then the most important is a challenge element. It can't be easy, right? And looking at all those points and looking at your game, I was like, yeah, it actually has all of the key points that are needed to make a game successful, that people will uptake and play regularly. Like I think all, Monopoly, Snakes and Ladders, all these classic board games
Yeah.
all have these elements, and people are trying to get those elements and they're trying to convert it in, to digital. So whether it be, just a game like, Candy Crush, or, or you're playing some third person shooter, or you're playing a fitness game, these elements are key to keeping traction, to keeping the person engaged and enveloped into that world. But I was wondering, like, did you think of these elements when you were creating this game? Like, how did you sort of like go from, okay, we need two decks, one with exercise, one with rep, like, or did it all just sort of like all just kind of fit together very easily?
It's funny. I mean, yeah, I didn't come from it from a real scholastic point of view of like, all right, I read books on gamification and like these principles need to apply. I think it was somewhat more intuitive, like what would be fun, right? And then what's this
Yeah.
very simple mechanic that kind of touches what you mentioned. It has some variability as far as like when you flip that card, you're not sure what it's going to be. So it could be this like, oh,
Yeah.
that's easy, or this could be like, oh, it's going to be really fucking hard, because I think that's one of the areas of just the pleasure sense of kind of having this invariable output, like you don't know, and that's what kind of makes you lean in, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, but I like to try to keep for the games that I do, a simple mechanic, right? So it doesn't take, always irritated me, man, because I've never been into like Euro strategy games and stuff, because I get bored really fast because the rules are so complicated, right? It's like you play the game for 2 hours, but it takes 4 hours to explain the rules of the game, right? I've never really got into stuff like that, because people who are like super, I don't know, like analytical, and they revel in the details. I could see how they would like it, but I've never been like that. I always wanted something that's just, real quick to understand. You can tell me what the rules are, and it's just you jump in, you play, and it's fun, right? So I always try to keep that in mind. Like, all right, if people are going to play this, how much time is it going to take to actually explain to them what the rules of the game are, and is it somewhat intuitive, right? And as far as like the design of the game, keeping it visually appealing as well. So it's not like I feel like mobile games are the same way. You could be playing a really fun Candy Crush game, or like the mechanic of it is fun, but if the UI sucks, you're probably not going to get as strong of a user base. So being able to try to match that with a strong like creative IP, I feel is beneficial as well. Because I mean, same with like Peloton bikes. Peloton, they just look good, man. I mean, I would want one in my house, and even like my aunt stuff. She hardly rides it for months at a time, but it's like this aesthetic piece. And I feel like even, it's just part of product development in general. There's a number of sides, but it's like with the mechanics, I think that's kind of was my rule of thumb. Just you have to play test everything. So I had, a few different variations of like what could be, would this work or would this work? Play test a little bit, and then you're like, no, this definitely would not work, because people would be thinking, X, Y, Z when I want them to do this action. Yeah, just trying to keep it simple and intuitive was kind of the best approach, I think, for that particular game.
Yeah. How many exercises are there in the deck of cards? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, how many are you looking at? Is it 20? I mean, how much is a deck of cards?
So I've got each deck, or two decks, each deck is 60 cards, right? And I have a few repeat exercises, like the core exercises, like, crunches and push-ups, burpees. I've got repeat more than once. So I think it works out to be more like 45 exercises. And then in the target deck, which are the repetitions and the wild cards, every repetition, whether it's 5 or 10, have repeat cards. And then the wild cards, I think they're all like three of each one. So anyway, I've got a beast mode as well, which is like an expansion pack, which offer more of the challenging exercises, maybe more like a little bit of the obscure ones that the people that want to push themselves would do, but not so much any of the newbies or intermediate level athletes. And of course, like higher repetitions and like times 5 on something, so if you pull out like a burpee, and then you get a times 5, you're like, you're fucked, man. It's like, even if you get like a low number like 10, you got 50 burpees right there. So it was definitely just still a fun thing to do for people that are wanting to really push themselves.
Nice. Where's the game now? I mean, you launched it on Kickstarter. I'll put the link in, of course, so everyone sees.
Sure.
And is that when does that I mean, how long is that campaign going to run?
Yeah. So the production took a little bit longer than planned. We basically, I wanted to make it on a PVC plastic instead of a regular cardstock, just smart. Because athletes are taking it out, they're going to be sweating, it get wet, it can wear out faster if it's a paper-based cardstock. So yeah, we went to PVC, and the manufacturer I work with they're great. But they don't have a whole lot of experience in doing, plastic manufacturing. So the materials that we sourced originally weren't quite dialed in. So anyway, so we are basically wrapping up production, or the production's finished. Now I'm pushing it out to my logistics company to fulfill. I think Kickstarter got a little over 400 orders, and then over 1,000 units that I'll be rolling into retail. So probably within the next month. It's probably about a month out before it gets the stocks in Amazon and available for people that want to buy it on Prime or however they prefer to shop.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm down for the beast mode. Let's do it. I think it's got to be beast mode or nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Beast mode or nothing. But yeah, thanks so much for your time. I mean, that was really interesting, because obviously I want to get into a digital game, right? The impact is,
Mm.
as well as a marketplace, we're also trying to get, create a game people can work out together live. And these elements are the things that I'm always thinking about, and having someone that, come from your background where you've actually made games. I mean, are you thinking to go digital with an upcoming product? Is there what's coming in your future? What's the next product you're going to be launching?
Yeah, dude. Well, I've got, I mean, I'm somewhat, I'm in a few different spaces right now with the projects that I'm working on. Like, Mike Michelini, because I mentioned that I was jumping on a
Yes.
podcast, and he's like, "Oh yeah, tell John hi." So
Yes.
Mike and I have a project we're working on right now for like a decentralized VPN router. It works on blockchain. It works with like the future of the internet, Web 3.0, which is taking pretty much all the internet, going through central agencies and opening it up using the blockchain, so everyone's a node in the network to pass on information. It's basically a router with the VPN built in.
Wow.
And some other cool stuff. So that's like a more advanced hardware project that we're doing. I've got a fitness product that I've been like itching to tell you about, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm filing provisional patents and doing some stuff. But within the next probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'll be ready to push it over to get your feedback on, because I think it would also be something to fit into your community. And what else? Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a couple things, a computer accessory for MacBooks. And so I've got like a few things in the pipeline. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get this game out. It's almost like a pregnancy, dude. It's weird when you have an idea from conception and you finally get it through this process of producing it and out to the market. It's like getting that out of your system, So I'm excited to see where FastFit could go. I do have plans if it does do well, as an analog game, trying to roll it into a digital format. I don't have a whole lot of experience in app development, but I do feel like the format for the game could work that way.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it up in the open though, because I just kind of want to see how it does. I'm not completely married to only doing this as a business. Like got other things. So my primary thing is just being able to do what I love, which is mostly product design and product development.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Man. That's really cool.
Final question. Are you ever going to consider going back into professional basketball?
My days are over, man. I mean, I tell you, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun playing ball. I mean, there's something so different about the way basketball is played in China, right? As compared to coming from the States, where it's more structured and more disciplined. Like, in China, you go to set a screen, right? And people don't know what it is, like half the time. You're like, wait a second, you guys have been playing basketball. You don't know how to set a screen or like, how to move with the defense. So I don't know. A funny story I'll leave off with, like it kind of captures a bit what wild ball is like in China. Because some people may not be too familiar with it. Like Vince Carter and Jason Williams went to Foshan right outside Guangzhou for kind of an exhibition game. They did five games across China, and Foshan against the CVA team, the Chinese basketball team there. That was like their final game, right? So I got invited to play on the team with them. Vince was hurt; he had an ankle issue, but Jason Williams, White Chocolate, was there, and so he was playing on our team with us. And I remember during the game we're playing, right? So there's a bunch of expat foreigners that play, and Jason Williams running on the court, and playing against the professional Chinese basketball team. And I'm not a big guy. I'm 6'3", but for whatever reason in China, I play like small forward, right? I played a shooting guard in the States, but whatever. So I got this big guy guarding me. He's literally like 7 feet tall, right? But he's skinny. He's like skin and bones. Kind of gangly. Looked like he may have been 20 years old, maybe, right? So we're on offense. We're coming down on our side of the court, and I set Jason Williams at the top of the key sets a screen for me, and I run around, and my big like tall goofy dude runs into Jason Williams, right? Who's shorter than me. I don't know what he is, like 5'9" or 5'10", something like that. And the big Chinese dude does what they do in basketball in China, and he flails and he yells like "Whoa!" and he falls down, right? And the ref hears it, like phantom whistle, like, and and he calls an offensive foul on Jason Williams, this little dude, right? And Jason looks at me, you know, and he looks at the ref. He's like, no, this cannot be how it is, right? And so he starts yelling at the ref. He starts cussing him. He's like, you know, how could I knock down this 7-foot dude? Like, what the fuck? Like, do you have eyes? What are you doing, right? And I'm like trying to get Jason to calm down. But that's the thing, dude. Like, even though he's retired, he's out of the game, he's still like so competitive. And so the ref was a little bit like put off. He wasn't expecting it. But he did what I guess any ref would do when they're getting cussed out with a dude like this far from their face. He gave him a technical foul, right? So Jason just flips. He's like, fuck this, man. And he takes the ball from the referee, right? And granted, you have just a packed stadium there in Foshan, like all these Chinese fans coming out just to see Jason Williams and stuff. And Jason Williams takes the ball and he drop kicks it up into the stands. And the thing just went soaring, right? And I remember looking at it, and there was like this moment where everybody was in shock. Like the whole stadium was just silent. Like, we don't know what to do. And the refs were clueless. The people were like, what's going on, right? And so the refs give Jason another technical foul, right? And moments later, the ball bounces back down. It kind of gets worked back down. And he walks over to get the ball, and everyone's thinking he's gonna like grab the ball and hand it back to the referee, right? So the ball rolls, it rolls over to Jason. He picks it up, dude, and he looks around and he drop kicks the ball a second time up into the court. It was great. So anyway, it was a good memory, but it made me realize, like, okay, yeah, we're on different planes. I mean, in the U.S., that would never fly. Be stupid. But China, it's still how they play. You know, I mean, they're developing. Yeah,
that's a good story, man. You've had some great stories, and and again, thanks so much for your time. It's so good to get all this info from you. Wish you the best. You're not in the U.S. then. You're in Phuket,
Chiang
right?
Mai. Northern
Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai,
yeah.
The Tigers. You got to go check out the Tigers, right? That's like where all the isn't that where all the tigers were? I've been there. That's like the big tiger zoo in Thailand is in Chiang Mai, something like this.
I mean, I've seen a lot of the elephants up here. They have a bunch of elephant sanctuaries. It's a beautiful place, surrounded by mountains and temples and stuff. But
very chill. Super chill.
So anyway, dude, well, stay well. Thanks for inviting me onto the show, and it's good to connect again.
It's been awesome, man. Take care. Yeah. Peace.
All right. Cheers.